another episode of Home Sweet Home Cooking. I am your host, Rocky, in my mother's kitchen. As always, my mom is off to the side making the glaze that's going to go on this meal. What is this meal? Well, if you read the title of the video, you would know that it's meatloaf. And I'm stealing this directly from the Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook. This thing is older than I am, by a long shot.
It's almost as old as I am.
It's very old. I think we dated this back to 1956 or something crazy like that. I'm going to look it up. This recipe is called a fluffy meatloaf. It calls for, what makes it fluffy is 3 medium slices of soft bread torn in pieces and 1 cup of milk. I'm not using bread. I'm going to use bread crumbs, and it says to substitute bread crumbs, it's 1 cup of dry breadcrumbs and 1 1/4 cups milk. So I'll put either one of them in the recipe down below. You can choose what you want, but that's the difference. So, to get started, I washed my hands thoroughly before I just went and turned the camera on, because you're going to be using your hands to mix. You might as well. It's just as easy. 1 pound of ground beef. I've got enough for 2 here because we deal with picky eaters in our family. 1/2.
Really?
Yeah. 1/2 pound of ground pork. This calls for your 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Do you have Worcestershire sauce, Mom?
Yes.
I'll need that, I forgot. The milk. 1 egg beaten. I'm not going to beat it, I'm just going to put it in because I'll be mixing it here in a second. 1 tablespoon. Tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I'm not going to do quite a tablespoon because I don't think anybody other than me likes it. And it calls for 1/4 cup minced onion. Now this is why you see some green over here on the board. This is for my dad and my girlfriend. They don't like peppers. So we're just going to put onions in theirs. And basically that's going to be, oh, and the seasonings are 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon each of black pepper, dry mustard, celery salt, and garlic salt. And that's the basic recipe from Betty Crocker. Now for my mom, I took an Anaheim chili and I diced it up, and we're going to put chili, green pepper in ours. You can use a regular bell pepper, you can use a poblano, you can put in some jalapeno, but I kind of like the flavor of the Anaheim and the poblano. And then you don't want to over mix it, you just want to mix it with your hand until it comes together. I'm probably going to have to add a little bit more breadcrumbs to this. You can use saltines. If you want to make this, we've used oatmeal pretty much our entire lives when we did ours at home. So you can use dry rolled oats, you can use breadcrumbs, you can use bread, you can use stovetop stuffing mix. Just put that in here for your breadcrumb. I'm going to put a little more breadcrumb in here. And then we're going to form this one into a loaf. And these are panko, so they're not really soaking up the moisture like regular breadcrumbs will. We had panko, we didn't have regular breadcrumbs. And, alright, that'll work. Now I took a regular loaf pan, a bread loaf pan, and I made a little cradle out of some aluminum foil. That's going to help when it comes time to get it out of the pan. I'm going to drop this in there. I'll say you don't want to overwork it too much. And then you just want to form it into a loaf. And the last thing I'm going to do that's not in the recipe for my dad and my girlfriend is I'm going to go to the fridge, get a couple strips of bacon and lay some strips of bacon on the top. Then that's going to go in the oven for, it says 350 for 1.5 hours. So we'll see about that. Now for my mom's, it's going to be the meats the same. We're adding the green pepper to ours instead of just the onion. And there's going to be one more ingredient in there, which I'm going to show you here in a second. I got this one hand dirty, so it's hard to do everything with. And seasonings, same seasonings, salt and pepper, garlic powder and all that. We are going to add some tomato paste to ours, about a half can. That's going to give it just a little more rich flavor for us. My girlfriend doesn't like tomatoes, so and I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, get it in a pan. You don't need to see it, you've already seen it done once. So we're going to put this in the oven, and I'll come back when I get the bacon on, because my mother's and I are going to get one more step, which she's taking care of on the stove, so I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, so I've got bacon on top of both of them. And the one with the peppers, make sure the one with the peppers is just going to get a little bit of this bourbon barbecue glaze.
Because he'll drink the rest.
And that's it. Now these are going to go in the oven for an hour and a half. At about an hour, I'm going to take this out and apply more glaze if need be. But that's it. They're ready to go. So we'll be back and check on them when they're done. Meatloaf has been in for an hour. I've drained off some of the fat, just because you don't want that. Saved it though because my dad likes to put that on his potato. It makes it great. Instead of butter or gravy, he just pours on the fat. Now the glaze has thickened up pretty good over here, and it's time to add a little more glaze to my mother's and my meatloaf. So this is thickened up pretty good. I think it would be really good on ribs. I think it would be good on the outside of maybe pulled pork, or if you just want to put some pulled pork on a plate once it's already pulled, put this glaze on top of it and throw it under a broiler to get it sticky. It'd be good on possibly wings, but it definitely has a good slight barbecue-y sweet flavor because the apricot. I do like it. But this is going to go back in the oven for one more half hour, and then it's time to eat. It has been an hour and a half. The meatloafs are out. I temped them. They're both above 170 degrees, so we know the internal temperature is good. Need to cut down just the outside edge here. You need to let them rest before you cut into them, but I do want to get them out of the pans. Just going to pick up on the foil. And now I'm just going to let them rest for 10 minutes before we cut into them. So the meatloaf is in for about an hour and a half. The glaze is set up good. As you saw, I put a second layer of glaze on it. And time to cut through. Oh no, I get the heel. Heel is mine. There you go. Now we're going to be serving this with baked potato as well. I want to get the taste test of this done so we can get everything on the table for the rest of the family.
You gotta feed them too? You
gotta feed them too.
Oh, okay.
Now remember, this is the one that we did with ours, and this has the Anaheim chili in it, so it's a little bit zhuzhed up from the Betty Crocker recipe.
Pretty good.
It is. I don't know why they call it fluffy. Maybe if you had the bread in there, not the breadcrumbs. But folks, this is an old recipe from Betty Crocker. And there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It definitely stands the test of time. There's, you can do breadcrumbs, you can do bread, you can do crushed up crackers, you can do oatmeal. Instead of adding milk, you can add tomato juice, you can add all sorts of whatever liquids you want. Make it your own, but it's a very good place to start. So if you like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe, do all the fun stuff. We're serving this with a side of corn casserole. That's what you see on the plate there. We'll link the corn casserole in the video over here or here, one of the two, or down here. And there's also going to be a link in there to the bourbon sauce that's on here. And give them both a look, see what you think, give them a try. And thank you for watching, and you folks have a great night.